Hello, welcome to another of our podcast specials. These are usually a subject matter. We previously have done first time buyer special. We're going to be doing downsizing and all sorts. This special is special lady, Candice Anderson. You have joined the business working in partnership with me. So welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you, Adrian. It's an absolute pleasure.
Well, paid you well to say that. Thank you very much indeed. We met a couple of years ago. I was obviously not very good at telling you how good this could be working together, and it took a while for you to sort of say yes. But we met back up again in late March, early April.
That's right.
And you decided, yeah, feels right, timing's right. And I think at the time when we first met, my business was very new. Your business was very new, and quite rightly, you're thinking, no, I'm going to just do my own bit of business. But we realised that actually we'll be better joining up and joining forces. So this is where we are. Tell me a bit about you.
Well, what would you like to know?
Well, I know you live in Fleet. Well, in fact, I know quite a lot about you. I'm just trying to think what everybody else would like to know about you. So you grew up in South Africa?
That's right, Cape Town.
Start from there and move on.
Okay.
And then we'll go through your property journey as well.
And please feel free to cut me short if I go off on a tangent.
We could talk about Cape Town as a Cape Town special, actually, but we won't do that
We'll
today.
leave that out. Yeah, perfect. So, yes, I grew up in Cape Town, South Africa. Left Cape Town when I turned 20 to go and live in the UAE, where I spent 14 years of my life working.
Is that where you started your property career?
That's right. So I went into property management and then went into property sales and business development at the same time. So that kept me incredibly busy the whole time. And in the UAE back then, you would work 6 full days a week. And it was literally from 7 in the morning, sometimes till 10 in the evening. But I was very, very fortunate. And the reason I'm saying that is because the experience in the Middle East opened up my world, really, when it came to understanding different cultures.
Okay.
So it's a very multicultural place, which is super. And understanding the psychology of how people work in general. And it's down to individuals' mindsets such as culture or religion. And one has to be very, very patient and quick to learn a little bit more about the Middle East, for example. So dealt with some interesting clients, very difficult clients, and of course, absolutely super clients too. But that opened up my world to property. Absolutely love property. Moving to the UK.
Can I just come back to the UAE?
Yes, of course.
Presumably characters there, and I've done a little bit of work over there.
Yes,
Never lived there to work, but I've been on property expeditions. I imagine the personalities and dealing with them is just a more extreme version of what we do with day to day with the different personalities and characters.
That's correct. I guess, and forgive me for saying so, it's like looking at things through a magnifying glass.
Yeah, I get that. And I think quite a lot of people listening to this may have holidayed there, probably got an idea of the UAE. And I think it's just you correct me if I'm wrong, quite an extreme culture in many ways, and probably the characters there reflect that. And therefore the difficulties and those personality traits are just probably stronger than they are. So it started with property, but it's interesting that one of the first things you then talk about is the people, because it is a people business. You're drawn by the properties, but it's the people you end up dealing with.
Correct. I love dealing with people. I find people very interesting. And I absolutely love learning more and more and more about different cultures and religious backgrounds. I think the one thing about the UAE, particularly Dubai, it's incredibly westernized, very westernized. So you rightfully said you can have some extremes of different personalities coming out. And that's because people going there are desperate to make it work. And they will work from sunrise to sunset. It doesn't matter. And they'll probably only average about 4 hours sleep a night just to make things work. But it's a very interesting place, very diverse. You will have experiences there which you would never have anywhere else in the world.
So it's almost like a fast track learning.
Massively.
About property and about people.
Absolutely.
And about how the two work together.
Absolutely. It can either make you or break you.
So did it make you or break you?
Well, I'd like to think a little bit of both. It broke me first, and in a positive sense. But it also made me who I am today and how I view the world and the world of business in particular.
Okay. And what brought you to the UK?
Well, besides my love for the UK, I married an Englishman.
Oh, that's a good start.
He's lovely.
I've met John. He is a lovely, lovely man as well. And very, well, he's not going to join us on the podcast, but he certainly joins us in sort of our business meetings and our social meetings together. So
That's correct.
I know he's a great support for what you do
Yeah,
as well.
I'm very lucky.
What have you found? We've touched on some of the more extreme elements of Dubai and the UAE. What could you summarize as perhaps the biggest differences between that market, that property market, and the UK property market?
I would say so in the UAE, when things are going well, it's going very well. You'll be closing a property deal every single day.
Okay.
That's the difference. It's the building.
How quick does the legal, so in our terminology,
Yeah.
sale agreed, exchange completion, how quickly do you exchange and complete from a sale agreed in the UAE?
You can within a week.
Okay.
It's very different.
And that's not uncommon?
It's not uncommon,
Okay.
No, not at all. It's a case of if you see something you like, you've got the money, it's yours. That's
Okay.
it.
Okay.
That's how it works. There's no waiting. And if people don't do what they're meant to do, they simply don't get paid. And the commission structure is very different there too. So you are looking at earning 10 to 12% commission on a sale, which is massive if you're selling property every single day of your life.
So vendors out there, when I suggest my fee of 2%, you'll realise that we are really quite reduced.
And I will have you know, when you are selling a property, you can actually charge commission from both sides.
Yeah. Now we won't discuss the buying agent role in the UK today.
Yep.
And the buying agent role is certainly one that's going to grow in the UK, one that we do already. We're already acting for some clients, but we could never take from both sides.
No.
But over there, and I actually think that's
Which
wrong.
makes more sense.
I think it's
over
wrong,
here.
actually. I don't think, you represent somebody.
That's right.
And 99.9% probably of UK transactions, you represent the vendor. The buying agent element will grow. I think it's wrong that you take from both sides. But that's
I agree.
I
agree. I think it's very important to stick to doing the right job and taking commission from the vendor side if you are representing the vendor and not the buyer.
So having taken 2 years to work with me, and I'm hoping it's partly working with me, but also working with the whole idea of the way the Keller Williams model works, what is it about that made you think, actually, I do want to work with you, and I do want to work within these sort of models that we work to and the way the business is founded? What is it about that drew you? Take me out of it for a second.
What drew me is the fact that it's focused more on building relationships with the client, and that to me is the core of the business.
So look after people.
That's right.
And business looks after itself.
Absolutely. The biggest thing I always have in my mind is the fact that you can't buy back time. And a lot of vendors on a day-to-day basis doesn't have, you can't buy back your time, really. Explain
that to me.
So I think a lot of the times, some people, not the majority of, and I'm just saying it as I see it, is that you can end up spending a lot of time on something and you forgetting that you can't buy back that time. It's how you work with that time and that individual client that matters.
So by being more thorough with less people,
that's correct.
They spend actually less time having to do the property elements of it, but they're also more efficient in the way they sell their property, because that's certainly the way I look at it. We prepare well, we can respond very quickly to, we were talking earlier to a potential client who's going to have a look at a cottage, that if she really likes it, she's going to want to get her house on the market like yesterday in order to be able to buy that cottage. And we can respond to that as quickly as anybody, but usually we will prepare and plan so that somebody wastes less time doing their own work on it, or indeed being on the market unsold, which I still think is one of the worst things in the world to be on, is on the market and not for sale.
I agree. I mean, with that said, it is so important for that client to know who they really are working with. They need to be able to trust you and your judgment.
How would you create that trust in, let's be honest, a business where estate agents rank somewhere below politicians and bank managers and taxmen?
I would say we are very different, and that's why I actually enjoy working with you, because we both have the same mentality and understanding when it comes to how to work with the individual clients. I would definitely say spend time to get to know the client, get to know and understand what it is they are looking for, and basically what they would like to achieve moving forward. And there's people sell for many different reasons, as you and I both know, and one's got to be sensitive towards that. I think a lot of people go in, they just think about the commission, getting it sold, and that's it. Spending time with a client is more valuable than anything else. That's long lasting.
So if you've got somebody, we all know at the moment the market is going through a change. There's an element of uncertainty. I know quite a lot of people who say, I'm just going to wait till next year. I could have a separate discussion as to why you shouldn't necessarily just wait till next year, because it's something that people do. Christmas is a funny thing. New Year's a funny thing. It's a line in the sand for so many people at so many different times. But if you knew somebody who says, and you couldn't explain to do differently, that they're going to sell in the new year, to me, they've got two options. They wait until February, March, and then say, we're ready to sell. They call a couple of agents around. It's on the market a week later, prepped a little bit. They don't really know the agent. They've taken a bit of a, lesser of two evils possibly, because they don't really know them. So the way I would propose it, which I think is what you're suggesting, is talk to us now, instruct us now, confirm that instruction. We get to know you, we get to know the property, we get to think about the property you might want to buy or move to. And then during that period before you sell, we then know each other well so that we can have proper conversations and discussions. Is that
that's exactly
the way?
That's
which is
exactly
presumably very different to Dubai as well.
Very, very different.
So you really got to know nobody. It was just boom, deal, boom.
It's very quick. It's very quick. This is the person coming in today to purchase. They either like it or they don't like it. That's it. But over here, it's very different.
And you presumably now prefer, whilst our market has its issues about slow speed of sale, the idea of a relationship-based business is one that really appeals to you.
Absolutely. I love working with people, and I'm very passionate about finding the right home for a buyer, and being sensitive to their needs, so to speak. So yes, I absolutely prefer this way of working more than the UAE. It's very different. It's simply just business in the UAE, but building relationships, it goes a longer way for sure.
It's interesting as well, because we were chatting earlier about the recent instructions that we're about to take on when the summer's over, and you said to me, where did you hear about that one, or how did you win that instruction? And I can't remember one that wasn't, oh, well, I spoke to them last year. They were one of the first people I met 3 years ago, and now they're ready. So I'm not saying I know all these people and go around and have dinner with them every night, but you start to know them. You know their house, you know where they live, you know what they're looking for, and for whatever reason, the timing is now right. And it's often, for most of the people we've talked about, most of them it's because they've outgrown the house, children leaving, it's a downsize, or it's a cross sell. And that's interesting that whole approach then starts to work. And I'm seeing that in the business now, 2 or 3 years in, that people just call me who I know really well. Or if I'm phoning them for a catch-up, they say, we're nearly ready.
You see, that's very important for a lot of vendors to feel comfortable with you as an individual, because selling a home is a very personal thing. It is, as we know, one of the most stressful things you will ever do in your lifetime, and to have the right people to work with is paramount.
Yeah, because you're nearly always bringing another stressful situation into it.
That's correct.
Could be a happy stress, could be
exactly.
A new job, baby on the way, a marriage. It could be a very painful stress of death and divorce and separation.
Exactly.
The other thing as well is that, and I found this, we had this with a discussion last week with a vendor, because I had got to know them, I could have a fairly blunt conversation with them about the difference between living in their house and then selling their house. And the two are very different. It's quite a difficult conversation to have with somebody when you don't really know them very well. And you can try to put them and say, I'm going to now talk to you in the eyes of a buyer. A lot easier to say, I'm now going to talk to you as somebody who's got to know you. And I can tell you what I think we really should do to maximise how we're selling the property. So,
it's very important.
Brilliant. Candice, this is the beginning of, I think, a fantastic time that we're going to be working together. I know the next few weeks and months are going to be really, really important as we try and solve, I think, a lot of problems we've got in the property market at the moment, a lot of imbalance, a lot of uncertainty. And I think with the clarity we can give people, I'm delighted to have you working with me. And I think it's going to be a great autumn moving into the winter.
I don't doubt that at all. And Adrian, honestly, it's my absolute pleasure and privilege to be able to work with you.
Brilliant. So we haven't really discussed area. Everybody knows that, you know, Hartley Whitney was my core, albeit that we've sold in all the various areas around. You're fleet-based. So my comment to anybody watching and listening is very specific. If you're in fleet or anywhere else and you just would rather deal with Candice than me, I can fully understand why. If you are thinking of moving in the next 2 or 3 years, it doesn't need to be tomorrow. It doesn't even need to be next spring. If you're thinking we're going to need to move in 2 or 3 years' time, give Candice a call. Create that relationship so she understands your house, understands you, understands where you might need to move to. And then one day they'll just phone you or you phone them and say, the time is now right. So if you do that, that would be a really great way. Candice, thanks so much for joining us here. Love these podcasts, love the specials, and we'll be back again soon for another one.
Well, thank you for having me.
Pleasure.
Hi everyone, Supergirl here, and I am a super fan of SMJ Media Group. They provide support for local businesses, charities and events, and of course create fun content for all of you. If you enjoy our content and would like to help support us, please go to buymeacoffee.com/SMJ Media Group and buy us a coffee.